So, good evening to all of you. It's been a pleasure coming your way. Once again, I think we had a very wonderful session in February. The feedback was good. And when you get feedback, people want to know more, want to listen more. People give feedback that they actually learned something new. It's quite good. So today we would be going straight to the point. We've done so far what is required for the 21st century employee. We've talked about CV writing, how to go about it, how to write your CVs, what are the details you should know in writing your CVs, preparing your CVs. And one most important thing I'll just say in terms of summary from these three sessions is that with the 21st century employee, there are three things that we talked about. That is the AWE skills, AWE skills. So you need to know about the applied knowledge. So that is all the knowledge you've acquired, how you apply it. You need to know about the W's for workplace skills, how you be able to adapt to the working environment and how you can work with other people. Then effective relationship is more about team building. It's more about knowing that every other person is as important as the other, and then working in that group. So you need to have that understanding. When it comes to CV writing, I'll just sum it up this way, that we need to understand that you cannot have a one size fit all CV. Most people would have to know that right from the onset, uh, you are able to do a CV that is more or less customized per job application. So for example, if you are applying for a lecturing job, the CV for that lecturing job and the CV for maybe a managerial role wouldn't be the same. So the CV for lecturing job would want to look at the number of times you have facilitated, you've lectured, the publications you've done, your contribution to theory, and some of the articles you've done and some of the work you've done in academia. But for the managerial role, we'll be looking at more of your experiences and how you're able to more or less apply the knowledge that you've acquired in school in real life. So they want to look at your achievements and what you've done. So you can talk about you were able to move a loss-making project to become profit-making, how you're able to break even, how you're able to use synergy to be able to produce more, and then you give a lot of some of these things. So basically, that's a bit of a summary of these two sessions. I know you've learned a lot, and then today we'll be going straight to it. So the most important thing is you have sent, you've read about the company, you've sent your CV. The first stage at the HR department is that when the CVs and the cover letters and application letters, I'm sure by now most of you know the difference between a CV, a resume, a cover letter, an application letter, and so forth and stuff. Maybe let me just chip in quickly just to help those who were not present during the other sessions. So a CV and a resume, the major difference is that normally resume is a one-pager. It summarizes almost all that is on the CV in a simple one page. At a glance, we have an idea of who you are, what you've done in just one page. So it's just a summary. The CV more or less brings out most of the salient points you've done. So CV can go as much as 5 pages. Some in academia, for example, because of the articles and publications and stuff, sometimes it can go even 10, 15 pages. So that is the major difference between the CV and the resume. So the word resume is a French word, which means summarized. So it comes, it's a summarized form of a CV, more or less. Then the cover letter is actually it accompanies the resume or the CV. So a cover letter is an introductory presentation of yourself. In other words, the skills are already mentioned, but there are some other features that you might not have put on the CV, or you put on the CV, but was not well explained. So in the cover letter, it goes like this. So, dear sir, as enclosed in this, as you can find in the enclosed resume, I am currently working with this institution, and as you could see, I was able to take the institution that was loss making into a profit making institution. Together with my team, we were able to develop this product, we're able to pilot it and make the product successful. We're able to restructure our systems and this and that. So that's more about cover letter. So application letter is specific. You've seen a job ad and everything. So that one is, for example, you're applying for the role of a technical advisor. So you put application letter for technical advisor. So with reference to your application, with reference to your job ad on this day, that day in the newspaper or LinkedIn, I would like to officially maybe present my interest in this for the role, and then you further go down. So that's more about application letters, that's about cover letters, that's about resumes, and that's about CVs. So basically, these are the three components for them. So all these four, I've explained them in just a summarized three form. So today, back to the interview, specifically on the interview, so that most of you have a very fair idea on how to go through the interview. So first and foremost, there are some few things we need to groundwork, all of us we need to do. Before you go for the interview, there are some items that you need to have. There are some things you have to do. So I want to start with the checklist, and this checklist is very important to me. The reason why the checklist is important to me is that it will help you with your preparation towards the interview. The first checklist you need to do for any interview is a portfolio with a paper and a pen. Now, when you tell people portfolio with a paper and a pen, people are just wondering, why should I carry that portfolio? Now, this is a whole an interview. You need to get ready and prepare all your certificates, anything you've put on your CV, you should be able to prove it, and you should be able to do that. Okay. Please just a second. Please just a second, please. Okay, that's fine. So I'm in my office, and my son is outside, so I wanted to quickly make sure it's logged before him. So sorry for that. Back to what I was saying. So in that portfolio, the first thing that is required is make sure that everything on your CV, you have an evidence to prove it. So if you prove that you did a voluntary job at some place, there could be a letter of appreciation that you could show. If you said you did an online program here, there could be an email or a certificate that was earned. If you did a diploma, whatever you did, you are enrolled in a professional course, you should be able to prove it. So that's a portfolio. Now, why do you need a paper and why do you need a pen? At the interview, there could be exchanges of numbers. There could be an assignment that could be given to you right after the interview. There could be some other further discussions or information that will be given to you that you'd have to note it down. It will be very embarrassing that after the interview, you call the secretary to say, oh, something was mentioned at the interview, but I've forgotten. Do you mind giving me the number to this person? That is unacceptable. So you have to get a portfolio full of all your sets and your documents. Make sure you have a paper and a pen. Now, the job description, that is one mistake people make. They go for the interview and they don't have the job description. So if you pick a job that is being advertised, the job would have at least, there'll be the roles and there'll be the tax. So they'll give you that job description. You know exactly what is expected of you. You should have that copy of the job description with you on that very day. Reason being that one of the panelists could ask you a question about the job description that maybe you had forgotten or something, but you could always pick it up, look at it, and then answer the person. You should go with your resume and your preferences. When I say resume and preferences, your CV, you should have at least, so normally for a panel, you have at least, at worst, you have 2 people there. Normally, you're going to have 3, 5, 7, 9 around these numbers. They are often odd numbers that you find on a panel. So based on the information you've acquired from the organization, I would advise if you can make as many as 10 copies of your CV or your resume, make sure you have them. Our preferences in the sense that you know, when you do your CV and then you do your resume, you try your possible best to also let them know what kind of role. You know, some interviews, they interview people for general roles. So maybe you applied for a job, you've applied for maybe about 3 jobs in that same company. The interviews going on that day are for 3 different roles, but you should let them know which of the roles is your preference. Though you think you can fit into the 3, you've applied for all the 3, you should let them know which one is your preference and which one is your number 1 preferred role. People make these mistakes. They think that the interview is a monologue and the interview is a one-sided thing. So it's actually, you go, the questions are thrown at you and you are just talking and talking and talking. And so it's a dialogue here. It is an exchange. So the same way they are asking you questions, you should also prepare questions for them. And people often ask, why would I have to prepare questions for them? Yes, you have to prepare questions for them. Let me give you an example. You need to ask them after you are done with the interview and they give you the chance, you should need to ask them, so please, when am I hearing from you? 2, when can I contact you for a follow-up on this interview? 3, at what point would I have to ensure that I can talk to you? Okay. So there is also the master resume to reference for company application. It is very sad that somebody would have his own resume, and then I sit, for example, I sit on the interview panel and I try to ask the person who I'm interviewing that, hey, on page 2 of your CV, you stated that you once worked for a microfinance. At that microfinance, you stated that you were the maybe relationship officer. However, the date you put there is 2019 March. In March 2019, you also the relationship officer at this place. How come you're able to do that? And the person gets confused. So you need to make sure that you've mastered your resume from A to Z. In the first place, like we've talked about in the CVs and the resumes, make sure it's meticulous. There's no room for errors. Make sure that dates are not repeated. You know, sometimes when you're doing your CV, for the sake of editing purposes, you copy one design, you paste it at another place, you mistakenly leave the same date there. So one is March 2019, for the other one, March 2019. So when you finish, review your CV and your resume carefully. After you've done that, you've submitted, make sure you've mastered your resume from A to Z, because it is you, it is your life. So it's not now that we ask you and you are referring to something, no, you should know them all out. Show and tell items, publications, writing samples that you have to show, you make sure you do that. So for the interview checklist, this is a simple part where I need to bring all of you to speed. The way you dress is how you are dressed. And for interviews, your appearance is everything. We talked about this the last time. So what to wear for most interviews? For gentlemen, a well-fitting conservative suit. When I say a well-fitting conservative suit, you are not going to wear a suit of many colors. You're going to wear a dark colored, maximum 3 bottoms, minimum 1 bottom suit. You're going to make sure that your suit is of the same color, the top, the down of the same color. If you choose to wear different colors, then you should make sure that one is a very light, not loud color, and the other is a dark color. So the dark colors for well-fitting conservative suit, I'm talking about black, I'm talking about gray, I'm talking about blue, and therefore blue, black. I'm talking about brown. These are colors that are acceptable for gentlemen. Your dress for no reason should be ratchet. It should be clean and pressed clothes for both male and female. Your shoes should be shined, well polished. Accessories, you should be very mobile. That's why I talked about one portfolio. You try and get just one portfolio that can link it up easily for you. You don't have to do a whole lot of carrying papers here and there. Get a very good, well-fitting bag with a lot of compartments. You can fit in all your files and everything in that one. For the gentlemen, recently people wear a lot of multicolored socks here and there. Put on a dark socks. So dark socks here means black, brown, blue, black, gray. It should be a dark color, something that when you sit does not attract unnecessary attention. So you cannot wear yellow, green, pink, red, all those stuff. For ladies, for some reasons, if you are wearing a short skirt and you want to put on a hose or something, make sure it's a neutral one, something that tunes in with your skin. Very neutral, unnecessary colors are not there. Minimal makeup, the same thing like our first session I mentioned. You shouldn't put on makeup that are too loud, very minimal. If it's just a gloss you use for your lips, your fingernails should be clear. It shouldn't be this long, white. White is even okay because white fingernails, if it's not too loud, is okay. But if you're going to put on those pink, yellow, and your hair, the braiding of your hair, you can do any style you want to do. My only thing is you shouldn't be someone who is going to be very loud in the sense that you attract unnecessary attention. A normal rule of thumb, dress slightly better than those you'll be interviewing with. Remember that no matter how good you are competing with other people. So you need to dress well. And please wear a dress you're comfortable in. Don't go and buy a new dress just for the interview. And then on that day, you realize it's not fitting you. So if it's an old dress, that you are very comfortable, that will make you look confident, wear that one. For ladies, I would advise, right, if you can put on a heel, not too high, not too low, because a heel gives you a certain figure and your appearance look quite professional. So flats are not bad for ladies, but if you can do a little medium-sized heel, you'll put it in a very professional shape for that. So basically, just to sum it up and then add some few points to it. So the pre-interview preparation is very important. You need to research on the organization, know all there is to know about the company. Most people are going for an interview. For example, you're going for an interview at Coca-Cola, going for an interview at MTN, you're going for an interview at Vodafone, and at a bank. And then you don't even know the bank, you don't even know the telco, you don't even know the company, their product and stuff. How do you go and work in their sales department? So the leaders, the key leaders of the company, what are the products of the company? What are some of the corporate social responsibilities that the company is doing? What has been the recent challenges the company is facing that publicly you know? What are some of the ideas you think you can suggest to them? So you need to know, read about them, visit their website, learn everything there is to know about them. Know your outstanding skills and achievements. At an interview, it is a platform for you to further speak about your CV. Sometimes CVs are very deceptive. People have very good qualifications on paper. You meet them in person and you're so disappointed. So when you're invited for the interview, it is an opportunity for you to once again sell yourself, once again present your outstanding skills and achievements. That you couldn't put all of them there. So strategize and be concise and vivid. Actually, you need to make sure that you are vivid about your branding and then thinking carefully if the job is for you. So you need to apply a lot of thinking. Don't rush into how you talk and all that. Okay, so still about the pre-interview. So what we've talked about, research, find out who you are interviewing with. Now this second part, for an example, you're going for an interview at K University, then what it actually means now is that you get the chance to meet other people who've been interviewed in a similar position. You get to meet other people who have been interviewed before. So get to know who are the probable people to sit on the panel. Find out who you are interviewing with. Know the job description inside out, like we mentioned. Know your resume code, be able to walk through it. Have an answer ready for, tell me about yourself. Now, this part is sad that we are doing a virtual one, but maybe I would see if I could unmute some of you to do a practical session. Yes, let's try that and see. If you want to do, I want someone to just tell me about himself or herself about an interview. Let me see if you can lift your hands, you can click on the raise your hands, and then one of you can just, let's say you walked into an interview and we asked you to tell us about yourself. Anybody with a hands up? Anybody to try? Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, please, we can hear you.
You can hear me, good. That's good. So now, let's finish maybe when we are done. Maybe some of you are still, let me see, did I see a hand up? Yes, okay, so there's a hand up. I thought I saw a hand up. Okay, so the one who raised the hands, let's take it that we are in an interview. You've entered and then we are asking you to tell us about yourself. What would you say? Okay, I'm seeing Abugri Stephen. Yes, you can talk. Hello, Abugri Stephen. Hello. Okay, then let's move on to, I've seen Frempong Richard. Okay, so Frempong, you can unmute and talk. Hello, Frempong. Okay, so in order not to waste time, maybe let me move on. Doris Lonta, would you want to try?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Doris, let's imagine that you've entered the interview room and say, hi, good morning, how are you? Please have a seat. Could you quickly tell us about yourself?
Okay. A second-year communication studies student at University of Science and Technology. Very confident and hardworking, equipped with good communication skills, teamwork, and multilingual. Very passionate about advocacy and activism, and can work with any kind of person, irrespective of age and environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we heard the last part of your introduction. We didn't hear the beginning. Do you mind taking for last time?
Okay.
Okay, so now it's very clear, so you can try again.
Hello.
Yes, it's very clear now.
Okay. I'm Lon Tadaris, a second-year communication studies student at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Very confident and hardworking, equipped with good communication skills, teamwork, and multilingual. Very passionate about advocacy and activism, and can work with any kind of person, irrespective of age and environment. Thank you.
Excellent. So unfortunately, it's virtual, so we'll clap for you virtually. Okay, good job. Good job there. So thank you. Thank you so much. So now about the talking about yourself, what she did right now, you could see she mentioned her name. She mentioned where she currently is, gave some qualities that she has. So that's very good. Now, for you to have an answer about tell me about yourself, you might not present it in the same way for almost all kind of companies. It wouldn't be possible. So let me give you three scenarios here. So scenario one is you are in an academia or an institute for research. Scenario two is you are in a commercial business. And then scenario three is that you are in an enterprise, family business or something, or maybe a new startup and all that. So if you are into academia, when you present yourself, you need to hit a bit on your qualifications with them right from the beginning. And then you need to let them know your desire and your research areas and where you are passionate about and which areas you want to specialize. If you are in a commercial side, right from the beginning, you want to let them know what you are bringing on board. So you mention your name. So I'm Lon Tadores. I currently have an MBA in this. I've worked in this institution. One thing I bring as value added onto as contribution to your organization is my ability to quickly adapt to my catchment area and my ability to adapt to the network and the area of work and to quickly work with the low-hanging fruits and bring on quick sales as soon as possible to make a quick turn around for the company. You present it some way this simple, then the rest will come up with the talk. Now, if you are dealing with family businesses, small enterprise, small and medium scale enterprises, you're dealing with startups and stuff, they are often concerned about commitment. They're often concerned about marriage. Are you married? Do you have kids? They're even concerned about, some of them are concerned about your religious background and all those stuff. Unfortunately, these components, you are not obliged to answer them. However, when it comes to family businesses and stuff, it is quite subjective in their selection. So you'd have to make known some of these things, and it's better you let them know, and so that if you make the cut or you don't make it. But for the first two, they're often objective. So with people like that, you can let them know I'm married with 2 kids, I'm single. You can add those parts, but with the first two, it's not quite necessary. So know your top 3 strengths related to the position. So at your fingertips, you should know what are the top 3 qualities you have for the role that you've applied for. So know how you fit with the organization. You need to let them understand that, hey, if I come in, I fit well into sales, I fit well into marketing, I fit well into communication. Know areas where you might improve. And please let me chip in this. At the interview, as much as they want you to talk about your strengths and they want you to talk about your weaknesses, don't go there and tell them my weakness is that I like sleeping too much. It could be the truth, but then it's not necessary there because you can always work on it. Present your weakness in a way as if it becomes desirable. Though it is a weakness, it is a desirable weakness. For example, and this is a true fact with somebody like me. So my weakness is that I like to work so hard until things are done. So sometimes I don't know when to stop myself until what I've started, I'm done with it. So though it's a weakness and it sounds like you're a workaholic, who wouldn't want to employ a workaholic than to employ a lazy person who will sit there and do nothing? So as much as there are areas you need to improve, present it in a way that it becomes difficult for you when others are not pushing. You want to push everybody and make sure that we get the needed results. Research and practice typical questions. Line up your recommenders. Prepare a list of questions to us, like I explained. Prepare portfolio materials if applicable. Read and small talk. Now, this last part, Nobody would mark you down if you don't know current affairs. Actually, nobody will mark you down. But then if you know, so they would not mark you down because they ask you, maybe you are going into the bank and they ask you what is the inflation rate, or what is the lending rate in Ghana, and then you don't know. Or then they ask you currently what are the new tax laws, and then you don't know. These are things that if you don't know, it's not a big deal, but the one who knows will have an upper hand over you. So if you can research on the latest current affairs and news that you need to know in the industry concerning the job you're applying for, it'd be good for you. So on the interview day, there are basic 5 points I want to share with you. You need to be confident and you need to relax. Dress appropriately, preferably formal, Ghana formal, like I explained to you. You need to be on time. So make sure that if it starts at 8 o'clock, by 7:30, latest 7:45, you're already there. Be prepared to show your certificates and CVs, etc. So that portfolio that I talked about. Then this last part, because all the 5, I've almost mentioned them. This last part, network with other interviewees. Now, this is something people don't do. The people you are interviewing with, who have come also to be interviewed, these are the same people who will quickly pass on information. There are some interviews that you go for, and then you make friends with some of them. And then if they call one of them, you amongst yourself, oh, have they called you? You tell the person no. Have they said yes? Then you start knowing your fate. So that if you know that you were not chosen, you can easily know, because some institutions, for some apparent reasons, may not even write to you to tell you you're not successful. But some organizations will pick GIZ and then SNV and all those facilitating institutions like that. They actually would put in their job ad that within 2 weeks, if you don't hear from us, it means you're not successful. So in 2 weeks' time, if you don't hear from them, it means you're not successful. But others don't put anything there. So if you network with the interviewees, it gives you some form of grapevine information on whether you are successful or not, because at least one of you will be selected and you would know. So what are the types of interviews? There are different types of questions, that are being asked at the interview. So there's a behavioral. So it uses past behavior to predict future behavior. So behavioral type of questions is that they pick what you did or what you've done, and then they project it into the future. So for example, we pick your CV and then we realize that in 2017, you were working in company A. Then 2018, moved to company B. The same 2018, company C. 2019, company D. 2020, company E. Then now you are coming to us. What assures us that if you join us or we recruit you, you would not? Now, for such a person, it could be that genuinely you are not finding the job you want. So you have to really defend it, because a certain perception has been created about you from the interview, from your CV. You would have to, so the interview gives you the chance to correct it. For somebody like that, how you can explain to them is, one, you can let them know that this current job you are applying for is the role that you really want to do. For all the other jobs you did them for your livelihood. You did them to survive. But this is the role that you've been wanting. Unfortunately, none of these opportunities were presented unto you up until this day. So then you're able to convince them, to let them know that though I have changed jobs, I only changed them because I was never finding the right role or job. Now I've found this job, or if I'm given the opportunity, I can assure you I'll be company loyal and I'll be able to stay here. Now, there are open-end questions. And those open-end questions, please, this is a big, if those of you are writing, you need to be very careful when it comes to open-end questions. For example, we tell you, tell us about yourself. Tell us about your weakness. Tell us about your strengths. If I tell you, tell me two strengths, tell me two, then I'm closing it. If I tell you, tell me about your strengths, tell me about your weakness, I've opened it. Please don't give information that are not necessary. At the interview, some panelists are just picking up on what you are saying. The more you talk, the more they have to punch holes in it. So be very objective, be very specific, and answer them. If it's not satisfactory, they will push you to add more, then you add more. But don't give too much information that is actually not needed. So the example is a closed one I gave you. So are you married? Yes or no? Have you done your national service? Yes or no? These are closed ones. Then there is hypothetical. So they tell you, so what if you are employed in this company and then you applied for the role of a relationship officer, but we found out that per your job role, we can take you straight to a relationship manager. How would you handle that jump from this level where you are straight to a higher level? So those are hypothetical questions. It is a what if question they're asking you. Then we have the leading questions. So this position requires good writing skills. Do you have good skills in this area? Don't give yes, no, give examples. So leading questions are actually tricky. So they actually are looking to test you to see how you react to certain things. So for example, I give you, so do you know how to do business reports? Then you say yes. If I ask you, do you know how to do business reports? You say yes. And then you further say, oh, actually, business reports is my domain. In my former place when I was in school, as part of the SRC, as part of this, when we get sponsors and stuff, we were to give report of how the funds were used. We gave a report, so I'll give a whole report on the event, the program we did. I used to do business report for my church. There's some people also help the business plan. So you give examples. Multiple parts, ask to have it repeated if you can't remember all of its parts. So there are questions that are multiple faceted. So at the end of the day, they are asking you a question that demands a whole lot of answers. So it could be a case study one. So there's a case-based one, problem solving and analytical. So the case-based one is that they can just give you an example. The budget of Ghana was just being read yesterday. The country is having a lot of people are in distress. There's a lot of challenges financially. Businesses like restaurants and hotels have suffered. People are not vacating, flights and all that. So if you were to be in such a position as a government, what would you do? Would you stick to productivity measures or austerity measures? They can just put something like this just to check your analytical skills and your reasoning skills. And sometimes, in this case, if it becomes political, please don't show your political colors. So you stay objective and make sure that the points you are given are actually intellectually or theoretically and practically feasible or backed so that people know. So test-based interviews, some test-based interviews, so you go there, you are made to first do an aptitude test, and then after the aptitude test, you go for the interview. Some of you are made to work in groups and so on. So we have the types of interview questions that were clear examples that you get at the interviews. So tell us something about yourself. So that's what Lonta Doris just did. Are you employed? So please, whenever we ask you to tell us about yourself, let me give you I give you the three scenarios. So let me make it this way for you. First, you can start with this way. You're supposed to tell them about yourself, about things that are probably not on the CV or in your cover letter, probably. Or you are just going to summarize what is there. So tell us about yourself. You can start this way. As you can see on my CV, or as you could see on the enclosed resume, my name is this. I am currently, so your current role that you've done. I have this qualification and that. I was trained here, I've done this, and I've gained these qualities and skills over time. And therefore, I think I can do the role and I'm a best fit for the role. So that is an example that you could at least give. Now, oh, sorry, I was closing this and then it went back. Sorry. So, are you employed? Definitely, this is a very simple question. Why do you want to leave your current job? So now this is a very tricky question. Anybody who asks you this question in an interview, so you're at a current job, and then why would you want to leave the current job? Your reason should always be about the next job, not about the old job. For example, if you start by denigrating your old job, you are not an attractive candidate. In other words, let me give you an example. Oh, I want to leave my current job. The current job I'm doing, the managers, they are not good. They are not good. Currently, if you want to get promotion, somebody has to sleep with you. You have to go and give somebody some money before you get some. No, that is very, very wrong. You need to let them know why you want to leave to the current job. So any one of us in this life would want a better and fulfilling experience in life. My current job is very good. It is a workplace I don't want to leave. I'm learning a lot there. I'm doing so much. But when I heard about your company, when I read your job description, I realized that if I were at level 3 in my career trajectory, your job role would take me to level 10, because your job role is not only giving me salary, but your job role is equipping me to become a better manager. Your job role is giving me an exposure to learn from other people. Your job role and your company is more of a team building. Your company has other plans for their, so let the company you are at the place where you are being interviewed, let them feel like you are not denigrating your old company, but you are being attracted to the new company by virtue of their good policies, good plans, good structures that they have in place. Please, am I making sense to somebody? Sometimes because it's virtual and everybody is muted, you can type, okay? I can read it when you type, and then I know that I'm not talking to myself. Okay, good job. Okay, thank you. So now, why do you want to work with our company? So you see the third point here, and then the fourth point are almost getting closer. Why do you want to leave? So you realize that you've spoken more about a bit about your company, and you didn't denigrate them, you didn't look down on them, you didn't make them feel so bad. Now they ask you, why do you want to work with us? It is like, for this one, let me use, I'm a guy, so it's like a guy trying to woo a lady, okay? You don't have to let the lady know, say, oh, there are so many girls around, but you see, it is a privilege for you that I'm even coming to you. No lady would want that. Let the lady know she's the most unique person in the world. Because of her, you don't see any other lady. Because of her, your has actually been, what do you call it? You have a clear focus in life. You seem to improve in what you are doing. She's a big plus. Do you want to work with our company? It has to go in 3 folds, please. If you have a pen, write this thing down, note it somewhere. Why you want to join their company should be in 3 folds. The first, most important reason why you want to join them is because you have identified a way you can contribute to the company. In other words, you see your qualities and your skills that you can contribute in this way, in this direction, towards the company's general goal. So the first one is specifically what you bring on board to them. The second one is that you are going to talk about the atmosphere and the ambience of the company, quote and unquote, an enabling environment for you to work in. So you talk about your value added or your value adding contribution. The second thing, you talk about their enabling environment, okay? Then the third most important thing is you talk about their customers and the approach to their customers. Every company is only there because of their customers. So you have to let them know for some reasons you've seen that what they are doing with their customers, the way a manner that currently, if you let me pick a company, you look at the banks and you see how they've lowered their interest rates, their rapport, and the things they put in place for their customers. This is a kind of company that when you are there, you know that you'll be able to help to take care of their customers. Let them know in these three levels. Tell us about your greatest achievement. They want to know, why do we want to know your greatest achievement? This type of greatest achievement, please, if you have 10 greatest achievements, you're not going to say all of them. You're going to say, they didn't say what are your great achievements, your greatest achievement, just one of them. So for some reason, your greatest achievement was how you managed to move from second class upper to first class. Your greatest achievement was how you got KNUST. Your greatest achievement is how you got 8 A's or whatever. But does this 8 A's relate to the company? So what you have to do is that of all your greatest achievements, which one would really matter to the company you are being interviewed? So if it is in academia, then you have to go academic achievements. If it is a commercial business, okay, if it's a commercial like a bank, telco, hospital, whatever, you're going to work there, then you need to let them know that your greatest achievement, if you are now a student, maybe for some reason you are not working, so let's say you're a student, is how you were able to pick an SRC and then you're able to implement the ideas together with your president. If you are the president, how you're able to do it, how you as an organizer, you did this, you did that, and so on, so that they'll know that even while you're in school, you're not just reading books, but you're able to put your skills to work. Tell us about your biggest challenge, please. Don't go and tell us that your biggest challenge was when you attempted to steal money and then you managed to steal it. That is very bad. Your biggest challenge should be something that has to do with something above your control. Your biggest challenge in life was how maybe you lost your dad and how family became difficult, how it was so difficult for mommy to fend for you, and then how you managed to do a side business. You had to sell water on the streets. So as much as it looks like you are creating or causing empathy here, you're also trying to let them know that you are industrious, you are innovative. You didn't let the death of your father cripple your dreams. You started selling water, you started helping your mom at the shop, you came up with something to help you on campus, you started doing so below on campus, you had to start doing become a barber to shave other people to fend for yourself. So let your biggest challenge, think about it. Let it be something. So when I'm done and you're asking your question, some of you can try to answer. You can give us example of your biggest challenge or your biggest achievement, and I'll tell you it's a good one or it's a bad one. What peculiar skills do you have? So if they ask you what peculiar skills do you have, if it's academia, and you go and tell them that the peculiar skills that you have is selling, it's not bad. But if you are coming in as a research assistant or something, your ability to sell might not be so needed in a way, unless you're going to the admin side or marketing side of the university. But if your ability to sell is one of your main quality in a bank as a sales rep or something, that's a good one. So please, what peculiar skills you have, it has to be unique. I'm just trying to let you understand the concept of that one size fits all. It's not one thing that you just pick and just brush it over every company. You would have to adapt to every company and present it. What is your salary expectation? Now, this is a question that so many people get it so wrong. I don't get it. People come there and then you ask them, hey, what salary do you want? And then they'll be smiling, they'll be laughing. They don't know what to say. Please, you have no right, but you have to make sure that the salary that you actually want, you have to state it. So let me give you an example. You remember that we mentioned that all of you should research about the organization, know a bit about the organization. So if you are going for a job role, you should have, so let me give an example. In 2008, and there was a job where they wanted to poach me. So when I met with the MD, was another bank that wanted to poach me. I met with the MD at Golden Tulip. So it was a casual interview. They wanted me, so they called me. And then they said that, hey, we'll give you this amount of money. So when they said they'll give me that amount of money, so I'm just going to give a figure. So let's say they said they'll give you 8,000, for example. And then I look at the current salary I'm taking that time. Maybe I'm taking around 6,500, just an example. So 6,500, somebody says, I'll give you 8,000. It sounds good. However, you make a big mistake if you are not specific in your salary negotiation. Unfortunately, we don't have time for me to explain to you, but I'll just give you a gist about gross salary and net salary. Whenever you go into an interview, you need to negotiate on nets and never on gross. So let me explain. If somebody tells you, I give you 10,000 Ghana cedis, you need to ask, is it gross you're referring to, or is it net you're referring to? If it's gross 10,000, then it means that the 25% tax on income would apply to you. So already that money is no longer 10,000. You have to do a component of your between 5 to 10%. You have to pay for your tier 1, your tier 2, your tier 3. And then all of that will be deducted. Is your allowances part of the gross, or your allowances are separated from the gross? You need to ask all these questions. So you need to negotiate in specifics. So this is how you should present it. If you are not so sure, for some reason, some companies, you may not know the salaries. You may not know. They are very, very, I would say, confidential and secretive with their salary. So you try and ask anybody, they will not tell you. So what do? You can tell them that for the job role you are applying for, you do not mind starting from the grade, the entry-level grade of that job role. However, you would prefer that you are given the chance to know the different grade and then properly negotiate when you are given the chance for the role. So in other words, you've answered them without knowing, but they have their own grade. Where you know, for example, that for the role you're applying for, you are being paid between 2,000 to 3,000. You can tell them, I would prefer a minimum of 2,000 as net and a maximum of 3,000. Or I always prefer this. If they don't ask you for a minimum and maximum, tell them you want a minimum of 2,000. Don't put a maximum to it. For all you know, they are willing to go beyond the 3,000 you had in mind. So just always give a minimum. But if they insist a minimum and a maximum, then you give that ceiling. So your salary, I'm repeating, don't negotiate on the gross, negotiate on the net. Ask them about what hits your account, the main net salary. Ask them about your allowances. What are you entitled in your allowances? How are your allowances being paid? And your per diem, ask about it. There is nothing wrong. That's why I asked you, there are some questions you need to ask, but always never dodge the question on salaries, okay? So pre-interview prep, because of our time, I have to speed up. Prepare several STAR stories. So STAR stories is this: situation, task, action, results. So that's what STAR stories means. So situation, task, action, results. So this is called scenario-based thinking. So you imagine this, the scene, you identify the task, you look for the actions that you have to take, and then the expected results. Give an example of your time you motivated others. What was your strategy? So this one goes for those who would have to show some kind of managerial skills. Describe a situation in which you took a strong lead Tell us about a recent conflict you had to deal with and how the problem was resolved. Now, this the way to resolve conflicts at the workplace. This is how you go about it. First and foremost, your objective is always to unite people. So you go in not seeking to make one the victim and not making one the guilty one. So your focus here is to make sure that peace prevails. So you would endeavor first to make sure they understand that their conflict affects productivity. So first and foremost, they should put their differences aside for us to work together. Then after that, you look into the differences. If work does not permit, you look at it differently, individually, and then you move on. If work permits, you meet the two of them, you discuss it, and then you advise them. But always you want them to know that their differences can hinder our progress. For that reason, they need to put their differences away and help us to build a team. Tell us about a time when you had too many tasks on your plate. How did you handle it? This question is more about multitasking. So you can give an example where for those of you who are yet to work, you're at school, where you had a project work to do, you had some leadership assignment to do, you had your family to take care of, your church had an activity, you were able to do this and how you did it, and then you present it to them that way. So the star stories are the example I just gave. So the star story is a narrative, a reflection of your creative ability. So the star story are normally those examples of either leading or predictive method of questioning. So what they do is there's a behavioral type of something. They based on current things and they ask you to imagine it. And then you imagine, and then, so this is about critical thinking, what we discussed the last time. So a reflection of your level of self-awareness, a reflection of your logic patterns. Are you able to reason on the spot? They are checking what we call spontaneity. How are you able to reason on the spot and quickly take decisions and actions? An indicator of your communication skills too. So you choose a story closely related to studies of field or work experience. You should always make sure the positive results are there, demonstrates your competence, demonstrates leadership, highlights knowledge, skills, and experience, exhibits some personality. I'm trying to quickly move through so that we get to the interview. Now, this is something people don't do. Before this session with all of you, even for this presentation, I had to do about 5 minutes, 10 minutes practicing through these slides so that I familiarize myself with all the points I've put there so that nothing takes me by surprise. No point I get there and I don't even remember why I put it there. So you have to practice the interview, and if possible, you do what we call scenario, you do simulation. So you have a friend or a close person, let them try to do a simulation for you, and then you see how you do well. So practice interviewing, optimal resume module in front of a mirror, mock interviews with friends like I explained. What kind of interview is it? Is it screening? So when we talk about screening, you have so many people. The screening is like the admission they do at KNUST. Let me pick the medical school, for example. So first they screen through the results, and then they screen through the poor and the female, male, gender thing, and then they invite them for interviews and all that. Then there's also the one-on-one, the example I gave, where somebody has recommended you and the main boss wants to meet you to know if you're a good person they could talk to. There is a group one. Normally that's the day you go and you see other interviews around. There's a virtual one now. We have COVID, so it's happening all over. I remember I got selected for a World Bank fellowship program, and it had to be done virtually. So they do it, it's done virtual. And then there's a case study one. So that one, you are given an assignment, a task, or you are given a case with other people. So we have the screening, the group. So the lunch and meal time, like an informational video, and then the follow-up. So physical presentation tips, just a quick one. Be comfortable with what you are wearing. I've mentioned it. Please, you don't have to buy the latest clothes and then you realize that it's so tight you can't walk in it. If it's your old clothes you have, please wear that one. If you are buying a new one, wear it first and make sure you're comfortable with it. You're comfortable in your shoe. I know ladies, they wear some heels and they struggle, so you could put in your flats and wear the flats all the way to the interview. You get there, go to the washroom, change into your heel. Don't wear too long heel, flashy thing like we've explained. It should just be a medium-sized heel that will make you look very professional. Don't carry a lot of baggage. Like I explained, get one big bag with compartments that can store all the needed files and needed documents. One big one is good. Be aware of your strength of your cologne perfume. Please, like we mentioned earlier, for perfume, for an interview, you should know about your cologne and your perfume. It is not a place to show off. So you are just trying to look good, smell good. That is the most important thing. You're not there to attract. So you should use a very mild perfume. Give a nice firm handshake with dry hand. Unfortunately, because of COVID. But if there were no COVID and we're giving handshakes, make sure that these ladies where you are holding their hands and it's as if they are giving just their fingertips. It gives the impression that you are snobbish. It gives the impression that you are arrogant and all that. Hold the hand firmly, shake it once, and make sure that your palm is dry. Sit upright. Unfortunately, this part, I wish I had a virtual chance to have demonstrated them, but let me just use your imagination to help you. So when you sit, when you go to the interview room, make sure that you sit upright. So upright here means that your bum bum and your thighs are in the seat, and your body is almost 90 degrees. Okay, it sits straight in the chair. Now you make sure that drape your arm across the chair next to you, lean on interviewer's face. So don't slouch. Don't drape your arm across the next chair. Don't lean. So you don't go there leaning. You're slouching. You're looking kind of, it's like apathy. You don't care. You are just, no. Be very lively. Be very active. Stay straight, okay? Now, don't be too stiff. When I say don't be too stiff, you can use a very simple method to make you very relaxed. What you have to do to be very relaxed is this. Ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen at this interview? The worst thing that can happen at this interview is that you will not be selected. That's the worst thing. So if you're able to convince yourself the worst thing that can happen is you not be here, then there is nothing more to lose. You have everything to gain. So when you go there, just know that if this job is for you, you'll get it. You are just there as an experience you're having, because myself sitting here, I've been to interviews, I was not selected. And it had nothing to do with me. It was the fact that there were people better than me as at that time. The job was just not, I was not fit for the job. I was overqualified for the job. So it happens. So don't be too stiff and don't be too tensed up. Stay relaxed. Be aware of nervous habits. So some of you, you start hitting the table and you be hitting. You start shivering, you start no. What you can do, what I advise people for interviews, hold on a panic item, so you can hold a pen. I prefer normally have a paper in a book, a small diary or book or paper, and then have a pen in your hands, and then move the pen around and your hands around as you talk. It helps you to then have a good eye contact. Normally, when I tell people eye contact, people miss eye contact. Eye contact does not mean looking people in their eyes. You know, when you look people when you look people in the eyes, it is actually staring. That is not good. So when you are keeping an eye contact, look them in between their eyes or look on their forehead. So either forehead or in between their two eyes. Don't look into, and don't look on their lips. That is very bad, especially if you are the opposite sex. Your lady looking at a man's lips or a man looking at a lady's lips is wrong. So look in between the eyes or look on the forehead. The forehead would still give them the impression you're looking into their face, but they don't feel like you're staring at them. Oh, sorry. So have a good, speak clearly. Make sure that your voice is very clear. And like I told you, you have nothing to lose. The worst is you not get a job. So during the interview, small talk before interview, smile, contribute, and show interest in the topic, regardless of whether or not you truly care. When they ask the question, everything, just give a smile, show interest in the encounter you have with them. Now, this is a part that you should know. Expect to talk for roughly 60% of the time and 40%. Don't keep cutting them when they are talking. Allow them to talk. When they finish, you thank them. Thank you, sir, for the question. Now, let me show you a skill I use for interviews. Maybe somebody asked you a question. So, what was your greatest achievement? You're not too sure. Maybe you unfortunately didn't practice it. So, what you could just do is, thank you, sir. Thank you, madam, for your question. Did you mean what was the greatest achievement I've ever had in my life as a general one, or was it specific to my role? Now you put this question to them, and so that you buy time to quickly think about it. So they'll get back to you, oh no, we mean in general. And then you say, okay, thank you. So the greatest are saying you are thinking, and then you get your points ready and you answer them. So ask for clarification if you do not understand the question. So like I just gave you, genuinely, you don't understand the question, nothing is wrong with it. Ask for clarification, ask for specifics. It's okay to pause to formulate an answer before speaking. So maybe they ask you a question and said, okay, thank you. So I would have to take my time and then explain this to you. If you saw the break in what I did, you can break in that way and then you start to speak fluently to them. Remember to use calming breaths if feeling anxious. So if you're feeling anxious, especially you rush into the place, just take your time, relax. There's nothing wrong with it. If an opportunity arises, show your evidence. So sometimes they ask for evidence of your certificates and stuff, just quickly show them. If they tell you it's okay, then that's fine. So to wrap up, ask your prepared questions or others that come up. So some of the questions that you've prepared for. Sorry, let me. Okay, thank you. I've muted. Sorry for it's a feedback from one of the participants. So ask about the next steps and timetable. Like I told you, you need to ask about what are the next steps? When can you contact them? Would they call you? Would they send you an email? Can you call to do a follow-up? And then if you did an interview where you sent your application via email, you can send a thank you email to them after you finish. So that's the last point there. So express or re-express your interest in the position and organization. Thank the interviewers for what they've done. When you are done with them, you can finish the interview and say, oh, I want to really thank you so much for today. I came here for a job, but I've learned so much and I'm grateful. Point out some people, you don't have the rights in multinational corporations, but I told you when it comes to family businesses where it's a small size business, sometimes these ones may not apply because the family belongs to a mother and a father. It's not a listed company or it's not just a legal entity. It is a family business. So they corporate institutions you work with, nobody should ask you what is your race, what gender, your religion. You can refuse to answer that. Marital status, per the laws that we work with here in Ghana, age, so age and stuff, it varies. Some of the job roles requires your age, physical, mental status, ethnicity, sexual orientation, family status, and stuff. So this is a general one for, it applies especially for multinational corporations. Okay. Questions can ask you, are you able to work the hours or travel schedule required? Are you able to perform the requirements of the position outlined? Are you legally authorized to work here in Ghana or in the other country where you applied for? Have you ever been convicted of a crime? So now most even jobs will let you go for on your criminal records. Each common interview part. So people fail to make good impressions. So these are mistakes I've gathered from interviews I have sat on. And so fail to make good impression, they dress poorly, ignore business etiquette. So business etiquette is the person entered without knocking, the person entered without greeting, the person could not say thank you, kept intercepting when the panelists were talking. These are some of them. So fail to show enthusiasm. It's as if so the person is just looking for a job just to do so. Yeah, I'm here if you can pick me. No enthusiasm, no zeal, no passion, nothing. The second point, they don't know the basic, the industry, available job or the interviewer. So they have no idea about the company. They have sent multiple interview applications, always been invited, that's all. They don't have any of these. So fail to present an effective resume. That one too, sometimes people are selected for the interview, but at the interview, the panelists realize that maybe the HR knew the person and put the person's resume in, but at the review at the interview, realized the resume shouldn't have even qualified the person for the interview in the first place. Fail to demonstrate a fit for position. That is very important. Some people are good, but then specifically for the role they are applying for, you realize they are too general than specific. So in our world, we deal in specializations. So if you are coming in as a graphic designer, you are coming in as a physician assistant, you are coming in as a dentist. I mean, you are specific. So you need to show fit for the position. If you are too general, you are too good. If they find someone who is quite specific, they'll pick that one over you. Inadequate answers to common open-ended questions. So sometimes you ask, the person seems unprepared, as if they are caught unaware, they don't know how to go about it. Fail to adequately address concerns about clear weaknesses, did not satisfactorily explain periods of unemployment. So now this is very important. It happens a lot in Ghana. Somebody finishes national service, completes it, and then the person is done with national service, maybe 2013. Person stays at home up to 2017. The person has no job and all that. And then at the interview, actually, between 2013 and 2017, you had no job. Why is that so? Now, there are three scenarios here. The person had no job because maybe he didn't have good qualifications for a job. Two, it could be that he never was privileged for any job. Three, he was actually not that good. So this is what you have to do. You have to be honest with it. So if you can say that, actually, I never had a job in 2013, 2017 because I had only a degree, and the degree I had was in a program that they didn't have. So maybe somebody who has read tree for degree, and then the person wants to go and work in a bank. So it's not wrong, but the tree for degree and working in a bank, there are certain qualifications they expect you to have. So for that reason, you had to do another professional course in marketing, or you did an MBA in this so that you'll be able to work. So now you've done this program, that's how come you are now seeking for a job. So that's when your degree is not finding you the job to do, or your degree, you are moving out of your field to a new field. The second one you could give is generally you applied for jobs, you searched for it, you didn't find any, and then you realized that you had to keep searching, keep trying. So you had to help family here and there. The only thing about this point is that nobody wants to hear the fact that for 4 years you are doing nothing. So even if you didn't find a job to do, let them know you were doing something in between that 4 years that you were unemployed. What panelists don't want is that I never found a job, so I was at home. It makes you look lazy, because if you have a degree, you can at least teach some private school. If you have a degree, you can work with somebody at a shop. You can do something for your church. You could do something in between that time. Could not explain relevance of non-traditional work experience to the job. So the problem here is that some people degree, you finish Care University, and then you now come to the workplace, and then you are an SRC leader, church, whatever, group leader. Relevance of those roles and those experiences to the new job, then there's no need bringing them on the CV. So if you put it there that you are an organizer, you can tell them, by virtue of me being an organizer, I became a team player. I knew how to mobilize a team towards a set goal. I knew how to support my president, which in this case is management, how to be able to help the team, rally the team around the vision and be able to achieve. You have to explain that to people. So this one was, I borrowed some from Dr. Shellian on how to interview like a top MBA. So follow up on it. You have to, like I explained, do a thank you note, a handwritten one or email to those interview or to the company. Depending on the information you got regarding the process, you can follow up with the HR department. So pick up a contact number or an email, you can do a follow-up. If you said you send an article or contract, be sure to do so. So sometimes at the interview, they ask for something and said, oh, sorry, I don't have it here. I'll send it later to you. When you are done, go to the HR desk, pick an email, and send whatever you told them you're going to send to them. It gives you another point there. So remember, everyone gets nervous. It's very, very necessary. Myself and all the leaders here, everybody will tell you when you're doing presentation, you're meeting people for the first time. I would say that currently, you think you speak good English, you meet someone who speaks better than you, and you see yourself fumbling. You think you are very knowledgeable in the field, you meet someone who is better than you. So all of us can get nervous. But the point in here is that, as I've told you, what is the loss here? You are not being picked. That's the worst case scenario. So once you're able to overcome it through this mindset, you should be fine. There's no foolproof formula for interview. I don't think there's ever been, and there would never be. So these are just guidelines for you to adapt and prepare. You are interviewing the employer as much as they are interviewing you, whether a big dog here who would bring a lot of value to them. So as much as they are interviewing you, you also humbly wants to know more about them and everything. Everyone makes mistakes. Don't beat yourself up for saying something wrong. So at the interview, you said something wrong. If it is a fact and you said it wrongly, please come back so that it doesn't look like a lie. Just say, oh, my apologies. I mentioned that I worked here at this time. No, I think it was a mistake. I worked at this period. So they ask you a question you didn't know. Tell them, oh, please, honestly, I don't know this, but I could easily check it out. And I'll learn for the next one. Every interview is a learning experience. So no matter the outcome, you've never lost. Once you've learned from it, you've always gained. So that will be all for now. And then I'll take your questions. Thank you. So let me see. If you already have some questions, I'll look at the...
Dr. Evans.
Yes, please.
Hello, Dr. Evans.
Yes, please.
Please, the questions, I just sent the questions to you.
Oh, okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay. So please, can you tell us the difference between scholarship interview and job interview? Okay, good. So when it comes to scholarship interview, I remember KNUST, the MasterCard interview. So the main difference with scholarship interview is that they look for ways and means of probing to know that whatever you've put on the paper is truth. So their intention is that if they've called you for the interview, it means that you are needy and then you are brilliant. So it's brilliant and needy most of the times. Some are also has nothing to do with needy. It's just about the most intelligent student just getting it. So for the scholarship interview, they are just testing if it's needy. They want to probe and see that whatever you mentioned, whatever has been put down is actually the truth. That is one. Secondly, they want to test your real creative thinking and want to know more about your personality. Who is this person that we are going to sponsor or we are going to give the scholarship to? Is it a monster with very bad ideologies? Is it someone with a great heart and vision that we know that when we help more other people? So scholarship interviews are basically towards personality, finding more about you, and then picking the best out of them. Job interviews are about competencies. It's all about competencies. They want to know how competent you are, how you can fit into their company. And the questions are quite different in that way. So today mine was on the job interviews. That's how come I didn't go in scholarship. But when it comes to scholarship interviews, from the experience I've had, my quick advice I'll give to you is be as true as possible and be as natural as you can be. Make sure you speak nothing but the truth. It's very necessary because they have to do, for MasterCard, for example, they have to do some follow-ups to ensure. And you have to, so maybe there might be some MasterCard beneficiaries here who can attest to that. Could greatest achievement be character-based, as in if it's solely a customer service job, can you say your greatest achievement is when you switch from being introvert to extrovert, trying to relate well as caring for others' concerned? That is a fantastic one. Yes, it is a greatest achievement that you are someone who is actually an introvert and you actually found it difficult talking to people, relating to people. But as of today, you are able to convince people, persuade people to accept a product and be able to sell items to them. Yes, that is a very big achievement. It's something that you could mention it. Yes, it is. Please, how will you explain yourself at a nursing training interview? Oh, okay. Good. So normally for nursing training, often it is presumed, God being so good, I had to prep 2 ladies last year for nursing training and they were all selected. So at least I can share some experience from that. When you go to the nursing training, first and foremost, your results are being looked at. So most people have been picked based on the results. If your results are good and you show a little bit of good character and good passion, then you are good to go. If your results are not good, then you need to show more at the interview. So let me pick the one whose results is good. You need to show passion for the job, passion for patient, passion for helping the sick. You can give examples how you were inspired by someone in your church or someone in this, and then how you one day you can give a story, somebody was sick, nobody could help, how it really hurt you, and because of that you want to do this. So you can give those examples. You need to give examples of where your passion originated from, stories of how you got interested in nursing and all that. If your results are not good, then you need to prove them with your personality. So what you have to let them know is that first and foremost, you are so passionate about this whole nursing. You're passionate about nursing as a course. You can give the first nurse, I think is what, Nightingale, I forgot the name. The lady first nurse, you can quote some of her staff. You can give some of the challenges we are facing in Ghana as nurses and how you think you would want to rise up and later address some of these issues. Let them also feel that though your results were not that very good, you as a person, you are that good. Other factors led to it. So for nursing interview, most of the times it's all about your passion for the role, your passion for the job, the fact that you really give them stories and reasons why you really want to be in nursing. Please, sometimes you're asked to state one leadership role you've played in your community. Should you link that to your past roles you might have played back at school? Yes. So school roles are community roles. You can add them. Church roles are community roles. You can add them. Teaching some of your area, your neighbors, maths and stuff are community roles. So you can add those ones. Please, can you talk about the salary part again? So salary, never run away from salary. So I told you 3 things on salary. First one is that if you know the salary range already, you know how much people are taking, maybe you're taking between 2,000 and 3,000. You can tell them, once they don't ask a minimum or maximum, you can tell them you are willing to take a minimum of 2,000 Ghana cedis. If they ask for maximum, the 3,000, then you would have their own grading. Where the company is quite secretive and very confidential with their salaries, you can just let them know that for the role you are applying, you are okay to start from the entry level grading of that role. However, you would be very glad if they can let you know the grading, and you can negotiate further when you are selected. You can let it go that way. Concerning the question that you can refuse to answer, how do you go about it without being offensive? That's a very good question. If somebody asks you, what is your religious background, for example, and then you tell the person that I would prefer not to answer because that one is very personal and it has nothing to do with my work. So if that would not be a problem, I prefer not to answer that question. So let the person feel like you prefer not to answer. It's not as if you refuse, but let the person you prefer not to answer as it is personal. If that is acceptable to them, you prefer not to answer. But I've given you a case where for family businesses and stuff, you may not have a choice. Because some family businesses identify themselves as Muslim institutions. So you have to let them know you're Muslim to be with them. Because there are some family institutions, they are Christian institutions. It's a family business. So they do morning devotions and they do all that. So that one they can ask you. Okay, so always say it in that way. Sorry. Thank you. Please, is it advisable to write your name first on an interview list? Is it advisable to write your name first on an interview list? I'm not too sure. Okay, if your list has been, I don't know if I'm getting the question very well, Doris Lonta, but if a sheet has been given to you for you to write your name, yes, then please write your name on the list. If that's what you mean, if I've answered you, if I've not answered you, please write it again. How do you answer these questions when asked in an interview? Why should we hire you? What is your worst characteristics? Okay, so first and foremost, if I on a panel would always ask anybody, why should we hire you? I would always ask that question. The reason I want to ask is that I want to know your value adding contribution to the organization. So I'll ask you, Enoch, why should we hire you? There is no one formula for this answer. The reason is that it is each role related. So this is how you answer the question. So I'm going to give you some guidelines and give you one example on how you can answer. So in every single job role, the answer will be different because your why is quite specific. So the guidelines I'm giving you is this. First guideline has to do with the company. You kind of praise the company, pick up on the strengths of the company, and why you find yourself working with that company or how you fit into that company. The second one is specifically, so let's pick a graphic designer, an example. So why should we hire you? I personally think that you should hire me for this role. When I read your mission statement, which stated that we are a company focused on excellence and bringing excellence to our customers, I understood right from the beginning I was applying for this role that excellence is the most important value for this company. For this reason, I want to also bring excellence here and be groomed into an excellent person. How would I help this institution? Currently, I am someone who is extremely meticulous in my design. All my design are top-notch and are designs of excellence. An example, I designed Ashace's logo. I designed University of Ghana's event for this. I did KNUST's this. I did this. And I believe that if I come here to your institution, I will be able to do this and that and that and that for you. The last part of it is you've spoken about the company, you've spoken about yourself. Now, the last bit of it is collaborative work. This is an institution where I have seen that the graphic designer, the videographer, the photographer all work together. And this is very good because from other experiences I had elsewhere, it was very difficult linking these different groups together. I believe that in an institution like this that links all different departments together for a common goal, we will be able to achieve it together if I come here. So you just give first on the company, you give it on yourself, and then you give it on the environment. I think I've answered every question here, it seems.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks so much. I think I would end here if that's all for now.
Yes, yes.
But hopefully next time, if not for COVID, I'll prefer we do a face-to-face for the interview. And then we do some social distancing. Because there are some of the facial and appearance that is better we demonstrate it in person. Al-Hassan, you want to talk?
Yes, please.
Okay, please go on.
All right. So, what I want to ask is, suppose you are on an interview panel and then you ask a question that you said I haven't thought about that. How would they interpret it?
Can you be more specific? It's still vague for me.
Okay, you are on an interview and then you are asked a question,
Okay.
and then you said you haven't thought about that. How would they interpret it?
Okay, so the answer in itself is wrong. The answer in itself is wrong if you think you have not thought about that. So that's how come I'm trying to get an example from you so that I know I'm answering you well. So let's give an example that they ask you that, okay, what if instead of advertising on traditional media, that's TV and radio, we decide to only go social media? What do you think of it? And then you as a marketing expert says that, oh, for this one, I've not thought about it. It doesn't speak well of you. So even though you don't have an answer to it, what you could tell them it's, okay, so the question you just posed right now is something that has taken me by surprise. I'll be honest with you. I may not have thought in this direction, but on the spot, this is what I think. You can't dodge the question unless you don't understand it at all. But for the example that I gave, you can tell them, though I may not have thought about this before, on the spot, this is what I think. Considering their social media ads are way, way cheaper, which cost about 5% of that of traditional media, and considering that the target group of our company is the youth, and most of them are on social media, I think it would not be a bad idea to move into advertising on social media more than traditional media. However, not to cut off our traditional customers, we can do it progressively by reducing the budget of the traditional media and increasing that of the social media till we are able to reduce it to a 0 and then 100% for the social media. So let them know that yes, you didn't, but on the spot, this is what you think. But telling them you've not thought about it and ending it there, unless it's a question you have no idea about. If you have no idea, you just tell them, honestly, for this one, I think I have no idea about it as of today. I'll quickly research on it, and if you don't mind, I can get back to you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so Doris, is your hand raised? I'm seeing some hand raised there.
Yes, please.
Okay, please go.
Hello.
Yes, please proceed.
Yeah, I asked that question because I'm told when you go for an interview and you write your name first, there's always tension, like they ask you a lot of questions. So it's advisable you write your name in the middle.
Okay. So you are talking about the fact that you
I
write
don't
your
know.
name first and then you are the first to be interviewed. Is that it?
Yes, please.
Okay. So let me answer that.
Yes, please.
Okay, so let me put this thing here. Like I said, we don't have a formula for everybody. I can tell you be the first and then be the middle, be whatever. But let me be honest with you. If you are so confident of yourself and you think you've prepared enough for an interview, being part of the early people being interviewed are probably one of the best you can ever have. This is the reason it is like that. That is when you are well prepared. You become the standard for which they interview the other people. That is number one. Those who are interviewed in the middle and the last, often the panelists get tired and they rush them through it. Because at the beginning, so this is the whole thing. If you are not confident, you are not prepared, and you want to go into the middle and the last, it's good for you. But if you are fully prepared, it is better you meet the team at the early hours and then you are done and you go. Because the difference is this. You don't want to be the last person on their mind. You want to be the first person on their mind. So if you have to be the first to be interviewed and take all the blows, go take it and remain the first person throughout the interview on their mind. So if you have the chance to be part of the first, I would always go for that, unless you're not fully prepared.
Okay, thank you very much. I have another question.
Okay, because of time,
Hello.
then ask all your questions at the go.
Okay, all right. Please, when you knock, do you wait for a response before you enter, or you knock and enter? It's been confusing me. I get different responses from different people. If you can clarify me on that, please.
So there's the whole thing. Traditionally, when you knock at someone's door, whether interview or home or anywhere, you have to wait for a response. So this is what you do. You knock. If you hear a feedback, you enter. If you don't hear anything, you knock for a second time. You wait for a feedback. If you don't hear a feedback, you open the door. So what I mean is, if you knock for the first time and you don't hear anything, you don't enter. You knock for a second time and you don't hear anything, you open the door slightly, not as if you are entering fully, and you ask them, may I? And then they say, yes, please come in. Then you go in. Have I answered your question?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
You are most welcome. Okay, so I have some questions here because of time. Let's quickly go through and then close. How do you know the company's culture when it is newly established? Okay, so company culture is very difficult first to know if it's newly established. You can know a company through the public information they've put out there. You can know a company culture through the employees working there. So you can only know through these two channels, especially when it's newly formed. So you have to find out if you can get people who work there to ask about the company, make inquiries on them, or check their public information out there. Aside that, you wouldn't be able to know. Please, can you throw more lights on the tell us about yourself? Okay, so I'll do that one before we go. Doc, can you please list some of the layout that must be included and tell me about yourself? Okay, we'll do that right now. What is the appropriate answer to the what is your biggest fear? Okay, please, when you enter, should you sit down or wait for them to tell you? Okay, please, how do you answer this question? Why are you here? Good. So let me answer all of them. So tell us about yourself, like I explained. You have to, please, I've said this throughout all this discussion. You cannot have one formula for every interview. So you should know which type of interview you have and what is the environment that is going on there. You need to know which one you are in, okay? So currently, if you are going for it's an interview for academia, and there's an interview for commercial interview, your presentation of yourself cannot be the same. So there are similar lines that will go. You have to mention your name. The reason why we mention our name, even though it's on the CV, is because of pronunciation. Some names are, your name may be, I'm seeing Itiamwa here. If you pick Nana Osei Sibe, let me pick Nana Osei Sibe, and you say your name is Nana Osei Sibe, that's how you pronounce it. You have to pronounce your name for them to pronounce it rightly for you. Maybe yours is Nasir or Nasir, whatever, Damson or Damson. You would pronounce your name the way it should be pronounced. So when you start like this. Okay, thank you. So like you can see from my resume or my CV that you have in front of you, my name is Nasir Damson. I'm currently, so first you mentioned currently where you are. I'm currently this, and I hold these qualifications and that. And these are the qualities or competencies I've developed. And this is the reason that I'm here. That's all. Very simple. Tell me about yourself should not be a book long thing at all. If you have research about the company's culture and stuff, and you know they are religious biased, maybe it's a Muslim institution, it's a Christian institution, maybe it's a Catholic institution, you can state that I'm a Catholic. And then they know from the beginning, you can tell them. If you are presenting your qualifications and for some reason you realize one of the panelists went to Prempeh, I went to Prempeh and I see a panelist went to Prempeh and I want him to know that I'm an Amanfo. I'll also state, I remember I went for, in 2013, I was supposed to lecture at IDL. And on the panel, I saw one Amanfo and I said, oh, so my name is Evans, I hold this qualification, everything. And I also went to Prempeh Cali. And the man said, hey, Amanfo. I said, Amanfo. I said, senior. And then before you realize, yeah, I don't know. Do you get where I'm coming from? So you need to know the people you are dealing with. So that's how you answer that one. But it's not necessary. If your high school is also not popular, don't waste your time. You don't have to mention only the good things that will give you a good plus. So some of the layout about tell me about yourself. Okay, I've given that one. What's the appropriate answer to the answer? What is your biggest fear? Good. So your biggest fear, I say this thing. As much as you want to be very honest, you have to be strategic in your honesty. There are some undesirable honesty you don't have to bring at the workplace. For example, your biggest fear is that one day you might end up stealing money when you are broke. Whether that, if that is even the truth in your life, I don't think I would want to employ somebody whose biggest fear is that he's afraid that one day he'll steal money from us. No. Your biggest fear should be something that can still be desirable, or even if it's not desirable, can be manageable. So maybe my biggest fear has always been the fact that maybe at the workplace I will rise so fast, and then I may not be able to move along with my colleagues, because I'm very hardworking, and sometimes some of the people you started a job with, you rise faster than them, and the top can't have everybody there. So sometimes you wonder, how would you handle it? It makes this kind of example makes you look ambitious. It makes you look company loyal, because it seems that you want to work here and even rise in the company. And then it makes you look like you kind of a team player. So in your biggest fear, I can't give you an exact answer, but what I can give you is you should be truthful, but be strategic with your honesty. Some truths are not desirable and it could go against you. Please, when you enter, should you sit down or wait for them to tell you? So this is the business etiquette we mentioned.
Hello.
So let me take all of you through.
Hello, Doc.
Yes.
Please, we are
continue.
a bit behind time. Can you please summarize your? Can you please give us your final words in about 1 minute?
So I'm done. So I'm done.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of the whole fraternity, we give a great thanks to you, and we pray that God continue to bless you.
Amen.
Now, Dr. Hayford, please, do you have any announcement for us? Hello, Dr. Hayford. Hello, Doc.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So soon we have come to the end of getting employed OTC model. I believe that the lessons we've learned over the past 4 weeks will get us prepared for any opportunity out there on the streets. Now, this evening, Doc, I'm actually struggling to find the best words to thank you. All the same, I would say we are much grateful, and I pray that God bless you to continue impacting young people. Indeed, when there's a chance, we are going to have you live on campus so that you continue to teach us. Now, to all of us who made it here this evening, I hope the lesson today makes a difference in our lives. Let's go out there confidently and then stand out. All further directives regarding certification and then payments for the certificates will be communicated via email and on the WhatsApp chat. We thank you for being good participants of this model, and we hope that you join us in our next model, which we will definitely communicate to you. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you very
Hayford.
much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
We
Thank